Hello, beach friend. Since you're here, I figure we have a lot in common. We both love the beach, and we both are interested in being happy. I used to think that things made me happy. Shoot, I used to live one vacation to the next, planning and looking forward to when I'd be able to relax and then be happy. I don't do that anymore. I decide to be happy every single day. And today is no exception. Regardless of what the beach decides to give me today, I'm gonna love it. Because happiness is not about getting all you want, it's about enjoying all you have. And I am going to be grateful for all of the delightful things I'm going to be able to have today. Now, one of the things is fog. It was extremely foggy, but we were still able to make it to the island. Fun fact, boats have to blow their foghorn when it's really foggy out. So yes, I am chasing low tide. The tide will be coming in while I'm spending my time on the beach here, but I'm still not worried because I love when the tide pushes the shells onto the beach. Now it's looking pretty promising. There's definitely going to be seashells here. And I'm going to be quiet for a minute because I want you to hear tail slapping or lob tailing. So there's one of our bottlenose dolphins. It's doing this thing called tail slapping or lob tailing. And they do, I think it's looking for food. I think it's trying to stun fish so it can eat, but supposedly it could also be used for communication, social interaction as a warning. So once I'm done admiring the dolphin doing its fantastic things, we're going to grab this lettered olive. Oh yes, we will be looking for seashells. If this is your first time here, I'm going to pick up everything that I find interesting and identify it for you. So we will be finding lots of different seashells. And we've already met one of our resident mammals here. We're also going to say hi to a manatee in a little while. Now, I had mentioned it was really, really foggy. But the good news is that fog did not hang around. It is going to end up being an absolute beautiful day. And if you're ready to see what all is out there for us today, let's go to the beach. All right, as I wait for the fog to burn off, I'll just keep my head down looking for some seashells. Look at this rather impressive bay scallop. Oh, that's kind of nice. A little bit of brown on the bottom. I'm kind of hoping I'll find one, that is a little more intact. There are a couple little chips and stuff in it. And hey, look, when you live here, you can kind of be choosy. Oh, I have a thing for shells that are kind of miscolored. So that shell was buried for a little while. It's pretty. Yeah, it's not quite as impressive as that other rough scallop. If you happened to watch a couple weeks ago, yeah, let's revisit that. This was gorgeous. So when shells are buried in low oxygenated sand, there's a chemical reaction that happens, leaving the shell very dark. In this case, it was absolutely black. So I found that a couple weeks ago. Oh, I still love that shell. Here is a calico clam. And I looked it up, that those dark bands on it, because to me, I feel like the Venus clams have those like dark stripes. Here is another calico clam, but I couldn't find any information. It's just one of those things that genetically, if a lot of the shells have it, then that's just the way it's going to be. So that is a calico clam. All right, here is another one of those bay scallops. All right, that's been buried too. It's kind of got a grayish undertone. So normally that would be white. That is a bay scallop. Oh, one of the most common shells. This is a cross-barred Venus clam. So that also kind of has those bendy stripes on it, but again, just one of those things. So cross-barred Venus clam. There's a kitten paw. And they can be very, very different. You can pick up 6 kitten paws and none of them will even look remotely like each other. Very varied, the kitten paw. Now that is a surf clam. And that has also been buried. Now it is soaking up, there are more browns and tans. So it's not black. I'm curious, would it get black if it was buried long enough? Because sometimes I see them that color. Oh, I think they're pretty. I'm going to keep them. So those are just miscolored surf clams. There's another one of those cross-barred Venus clams. Very, very common. So common, I typically just don't even pay attention to them, which is kind of terrible because you'd go to the beach and be like, hey, what are all these shells? She never even mentioned them. So those are cross-barred Venus clams. That is a broken horse conch. Oh, it's tragic. And we call that a cob for some reason. Just that inside of the shell is a cob. And that's a little lightning whelk. Little bendy juvenile lightning whelk. Okay, here's another bay scallop. Okay, and another calico clam. It's definitely looking like it's going to be a bivalve kind of day. Oh, what do we have here? A sand dollar. Yeah. Yep, that is a sand dollar. We have 5-hole keyhole sand dollars. I'm going to save that for somebody else, somebody who needs a starter sand dollar. That's a ponderous arc. Again, very common. The ponderous arcs and the cross-barred Venus clams. Those are the two most common shells you'll find down here. You'll go to the beach, you'll see sand, you'll see ponderous arcs, and you'll see cross-barred Venus clams. And if you're lucky, you'll see a kitten paw. Oh, here we go. We have another rough scallop. This is really more typical of what they look like. Different reds and pinks and whatnot. Not like that gorgeous black one. And the wings, the interior wings on the bottom, a little bit longer than some of the boxy wings on either the calico or the bay scallop. So I did get here on a boat, and I don't know, maybe 40 of us kind of converged onto the island at the same time. So there's a bunch of us here looking for seashells. I am not alone. And that's okay. There's plenty to go around. This is my favorite shell. This is a Florida fighting conch. Oh, it's very dark. It's very lovely. It's big. I don't think I'm going to need to really worry, though. Typically, I don't collect those until the end of my trip because they're very heavy. But I'm just thinking I'm not really going to have a problem with too many shells today. So I'm just really slowly letting you kind of see what's here. Lots of the surf clams, so we're looking at a lot of bivalves. That means that obviously there's plenty of seashells here. Anything interesting? See, broken fighting conch, a piece of an apple murex. There's another fighting conch. Lots of those miscolored surf clams, kind of fun. There's an olive. Okay, a broad-ribbed cardita. Looks like we should have met a little sooner than today. That is all right. Ooh, well, hello there. Hello, shark eye. Hello, false shark eye. You're a couple little dings in you. Otherwise, you're just lovely. All right. We have a lady-in-waiting Venus clam. Very, very fancy name for that little clam. And then oh dear. Well, it's a calico clam, and I've seen better calico clams. We're just going to concentrate on the lady-in-waiting Venus clam. All right, here we have a common auger that does not have any critters in there. There's a little bit of sand and shell bits. Hermit crabs will vacate all of that stuff, so if there's stuff in your shell, it's likely safe to take from the beach. A couple other people that were on the boat. I am recording this. This is at the end of December. As a matter of fact, it's New Year's Eve when this was recorded. So this will be this is my last shelling trip of 2024. That's a broad-ribbed cardita. And a leucine, a buttercup leucine. That barely has any butter. Very, very light. Okay, a white Atlantic simile. I even have to admit to myself, how do I know the difference between those two? Oh, that's right. I come to the beach constantly, and you just kind of learn. All right, I have also learned I should probably check the upper rack line, which I normally don't do. I'm pretty terrible at it. I like to stay down by the water. So I picked up a melampus, and look at that, a rosy wolf snail. Now, why have you not heard of a rosy wolf snail? Well, because they're land snails. So that is not a marine snail. That's one that'll hang out on trees and whatnot, but sometimes those shells make their way down onto the beach. And then the other shell is a coffee melampus. Anything else exciting up here? I don't know. Ko Costa is really making me work. So like lots of seashells. And again, it looks like surf clams are winning. They are winning today. All right, check this rack line again. So lots of the giant Atlantic cockles. Looks like a big old lump of lightning whelk. Yes, just a piece. Oh my gosh, yeah, one of the times I came here, the Captain Jenny found a Junonia. So this island is known for stuff. That is deceased. It is a flame box crab. I just thought it was really interesting that it's those barnacles. Yeah, I mean, they were friends. Him and the barnacles, literally, they were huge. So up in the upper rack line, again, not terribly exciting. I did want to at least check it out. You never know. Oh, a little horse conch. All right, you are hiding amongst the seaweed and whatnot. And again, like on a day like today, I am going to keep that lovely seashell. So that is a horse conch, a Florida horse conch. It's probably an osprey in the distance there. So I'm on the very south end of Ko Costa. The north end, I think it's still closed from Hurricane Ian. It took a beating. That is an apple murex. It's about 30% of an apple murex. Let's check it out. Oh, another rough scallop. Fun. Yeah, and they're called that because the actual texture of the shell, it literally is rough. Oh, that one had been buried too. So shells are not typical gray and black. Usually they're orange, and those rough scallops can be yellow, orange, different kind of variations of red. So it's warm enough to be in the water, but there's not all that much here. I'm not seeing anything in the water that I'm not really seeing up on the beach. So why am I going to struggle to find the same shells I'm going to find on the beach? Oh, here is a bubble, a striated bubble. Those do glow under UV light. Very exciting. A surf clam, not as stained as some of the ones I picked up in the beginning of the video. All right, just little bits and pieces. And again, we know the tide's coming in, so I'm kind of hoping that it's like pushing things in. All right, we have ourselves, all right, 2 sereths. Now these are both dark sereths, but it is interesting the different colors. So the one on the left, that's a little more traditional color. And the one on the right, just a little more tan. We'll have some variations. Okay, this is an apple murex. Oh, it's intact. A little bit of beach stuff, that is okay. That will come off with bleach, no problem. So that is an apple murex. And a slipper snail. All right, we do have some monochromatic coloration. So that was also probably buried for a little bit. And that one looks a little more normal colored. So they're called slipper snails. They're typically kind of stacked on top of each other, and you'll find them on other seashells and whatnot. Slipper snails. So the fog is way gone. How gorgeous is this? Isn't this beautiful? So I am going to be quiet and allow you to enjoy some beach time. All right, it appears as if I've kind of wandered over to this little bit of a shell pile here. I missed it earlier. I was a little bit closer to the water. Let's see what's left here. Oh, a gaudy nautica, or a colorful moon snail. Fabulous. I'll probably hang on to that. It's not anything I'll add to my collection. And, when I get home, I might change my mind and end up bringing it back to the beach. I actually don't really keep a lot of the shells that I pick up. Lately, I've gotten into selling them. So you can purchase perhaps some of the seashells from Koya Costa over on Etsy. I'll put a link in the description box below as well. There's a little jingle and a Florida prickly cockle. Can't leave the beach without at least one of those delightful, delightful shells. Another little shark eye, a little beat up, but on a day like today, yeah, a little bit slower, I might just go ahead and hold on to you. Now, I am curious. I have been here. I was lucky enough to spend 3 nights here on this glorious island. There are some private homes here, so you could VRBO and end up staying on an island. So I am going to wrap around the corner here. It's so pretty. All right, I'll probably be back. But I want to kind of go around the corner and check this end of the island on the backside. I know there can be baby's ears here, so that's something that perhaps I'll find, but just in general, let's just see what else is over here. Okay, an egg cockle. All beat up, likely buried for a minute. It's kind of discolored. Not a baby's ear, though. All right, another rough scallop. Ah, so that had been buried for a while. I wish I had met you before you were buried. It looks like you were really pretty, kind of a yellow color. But you're intact, so you're coming home with me. Rough scallop. This is a calico scallop. Shaped a little different. Colors are much more vibrant than shells that have been buried anyway. So it's very, very common, very lovely calico scallop. Before Hurricane Ian came, I was kind of half thinking about renting one of the cabins, but I was lucky enough to stay in one of the houses, so I didn't have to camp. It was really much more like glamping. So here we see a bunch of double-crested cormorants. There's a whole bunch of different kind of cormorants over on the west coast of the United States. You would have a Brant cormorant, and they kind of dry their wings. They kind of like stand around with their arms like stretched out. So they do have a hooked bill, and they kind of are specialized for catching fish. They can plunge up to 45 feet underwater to catch fish. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen this in some cultures, particularly in Asia. Cormorants have been trained to assist fishermen. There's a band placed around the bird's neck to prevent it from swallowing the fish, but it'll go down, get the fish, and bring it back up. Crazy. I did not know that those were cormorants, so really kind of cool. So that is another calico scallop. Very lovely. Definitely a bivalve kind of day. Yep, all right. Unfortunately, no baby's ears or anything. All right, we do have a rather neat, all right, that's another one of those calico clams, but the coloration is just really different. That's rather pretty. So that is a calico clam. Oh, a chestnut turban. It's it's a little beach worn. You know what I've never found, at least down here, is the operculum. It's called a shiva shell or a cat's eye. Never found one down here. That is another one of those buttercup lucines. That's got about half of the fat, half of the butter in that buttercup lucine. Lovely. Oh yeah, I'm back to that. This is so pretty. It was one of the things that was really kind of impressed upon me, that it ended up being such a gorgeous day. I'm so lucky. A lot of the times I'm just absolutely surrounded by beauty, and I do like to be surrounded by beautiful things. So over on Instagram, someone reached out to me from Echoes of the Sea and said, hey, could I maybe interest you in a free print if you let your viewers know about my stuff? And I said, I don't know. Let me go look. Ooh, yeah, I think I can do that. This stuff is pretty. So it's coastal, beachy kind of artwork. And all right, let's take a look at some of the coral and the sea life. Oh, yes, I can do that. So that's what I decided to do. I wanted to let you know about these beautiful prints printed on glass. So this is not acrylic. It's UV treated inks which prevents fading, and then it is printed on glass. Now, the artwork themselves, they're really thin and it's frameless, so it kind of fits into any decor. And because it's so thin, it's very light. Apparently, the largest print weighs less than 5 pounds. Now, the company has a happiness guarantee for 60 days. So if you were to order something, you do have a lot of time to make sure you absolutely love your print. Now, these prints are, oh yeah, I might end up with, I don't know if you guys know, in addition to seashells, I'm kind of obsessed with flamingos. Oh man, yeah, and I kind of like to see, I might have to get more than one. But anyway, I just thought that this artwork was really, really pretty. So it's Echoes of the Sea. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below so you can check that out and see if that's something that you might also want to order for your home. I personally, I'm getting ready to move, so I'm not ordering anything quite yet. Once I get to my final destination, I'm going to order one of those beautiful prints. I'll let you know which one I end up deciding on. Jingles. Jingles are kind of neat. So jingles are bivalves. So typically they'll have a top and a bottom, and then they're attached at the hinge. Now, what's different about these guys, though, is that kind of like some of the other things like barnacles, is they will attach themselves to rocks and other substrates and then filter feed. So typically the bottom valve is like cemented onto something, and all we ever find is the top. So it's just the top of the jingle, what we typically find. Every now and then after a storm, I'll find a hinged jingle. And then if you look, the bottom has a little hole in it because it has these little threads, and the threads go through the hole and anchor it to the rock or the substrate. Now look at that little comb bittersweet. Oh, you darling little thing. I hope you're, well, unfortunately, you are a little clam, so you are not going to be able, the little seashells are not coming home with me. You are alive. But interesting, I'll find the comb bittersweets over here, never the spectral or the giant. Okay, 1 out of 3 ain't bad. At least we can have one of the bittersweets. Okay, what else? A little sand dollar. Most of a sand dollar. Yeah, it's been kind of eroding away a little bit. It's kind of missing a little bit. Still pretty though. Hopefully that'll make it into someone else's collection. Is that same apple murex? Yeah. All right. I'm definitely not collecting you. I'm going to leave you there. Okay. Yep. There's still surf clams. What is this? Okay. So it's not a traditional looking frond oyster, but I do believe that's what this is. It looks like it's 50% frond oyster and 50% kitten paw, but I believe we're looking at a weird little frond oyster. Boy, it sure turned out to be a pretty day. Now, I had already mentioned, yes, you can, yeah, so you can kind of see one of the homes in there. But for the most part, if you stay on the Gulf side of the island, you won't see any boats, any homes, and you'll just have this beautiful experience. Now, today, I got here with Captiva Cruises. So it was only a $50 trip now. Granted, it was kind of short. It says half day. It's from 9 to 12. So it was a little short for me. I do wish I'd been able to stay a little bit longer. All right, another pile. Let's see what, all right, calico scallop. Yeah, I doubt we're going to find anything that we haven't already found, but let's see. Broad-rib cardita. Okay, that's a repeat. A jingle, that is a repeat. Yeah, I got out the heavy equipment. I found a cockle, and I'm just going to kind of push some shells around just on the off chance. All right, there's a Florida prickly cockle. Yep, that's Florida prickly cockle, all right. Just on the off chance there's something a little bit buried. A broken button shell. All right, there's a little, looks like a little surf clam. Okay, well, it's always worth just kind of pushing some shells around just in case. Oh, here's a kitten paw. Look how weird this one is. I love it. You could have 6 toes. It could have like 4. So it's another little kitten paw. Oh, a spotted slipper snail. So we had looked at some slippers. This one's a little fancier. It's a little spotted. Spotted slipper snail. Variable worm snail, or variable worm rock. Now this stuff, can create islands. What are you talking about? Well, so this is some other worm rock I've picked up. Now check this out. So that is a huge chunk. See that? That's all worm rock. Now there's some other kind of stuff kind of buried in there, but they hang out and they can create these little colonies. And if a little mangrove seed comes along and kind of gets caught up there, it's going to create a tree, and that's going to trap more stuff, and it can create islands. So the variable worm snail is kind of fun. That is that broken apple murex. I'm not picking it up. I guess that's what happens when I keep wandering back and forth in the same area. Now, this is a purplish, not purple, purplish Tagalus. I don't know why they couldn't commit and just call it a purple Tagalus, but it's a purplish Tagalus. It's a swell little purple seashell. A banded tulip. Haven't said that at all today. All right, it is not the most pristine I've ever found. However, it is the only one I found. So today you're coming home with me. Ooh, you look rather buttery. Yeah, that's a little bit better. A little bit better in the butter department. So that is a buttercup lucine. Why? I don't know. Buttercup? I don't know. I don't know. An egg cockle that actually looks a little bit like an egg cockle. All right, I get it. I get it. Some of these other seashells, though, that's just very interesting. Why they get the names they do, I don't know. Those are two egg cockles. Yeah, probably looking at more surf clams and some of the other... Oh, wait a minute. I actually see a gastropod. Yep. So that is a chestnut turban. We've already found one today. That one's a little bit better shape. A nice little chestnut turban. And here is an alternate talon. Again, with the name. So it's not the star of the show. It's only the backup. So if you can't find a regular talon, you're going to look for an alternate talon. Why alternate? I don't know. But that's what it's called, and I happen to like it. And then this little seashell with the big old barnacles on it. I think it just goes to show barnacles are just not that smart. Although, I don't know if it's really smarts or it's really just opportunity. But we're going to leave it at that. We have that little calico scallop with some ivory barnacles, and holy cow, it was an absolute gorgeous day here. That fog burned off, and this island is really pretty. So thank you so much, Koya Costa. That was fun. We are not going to need to worry about the foghorn on our trip back to the marina. And on a day like today, believe me, I am very, very happy, and I'm very, very grateful to my Patreons and everyone who comes along. But Patreons, I really appreciate you choosing to monetarily support me and allowing me to go off and do things like this and researching cormorants. I had no idea that that was the kind of bird that dives and helps those people with the fishing, as well as lob-tailing. Who knew there was such a thing? So Patreons, thank you for allowing me to do this. And we all get to enjoy the benefits of me traipsing around these islands videotaping, because look at this. So this is a West Indian manatee. The adults can grow up between 10 to 13 feet, and they can weigh between 8 and 1,200 pounds. That's a little tail kind of popping up there. Now, they're very docile. They're gentle. They're found in warm, shallow water. So it was a little weird to see it at the end of December. I was actually quite shocked. Now, they're herbivores. So they only eat aquatic vegetation, and they can eat up to 10 to 15% of their body weight daily. Now, they surface every 3 to 5 minutes for air. But if they're like trying to get away, they can stay underwater for up to 20 minutes. And they regulate their buoyancy by adjusting the amount of air in their lungs. Oh, that was really cool. So I did manage to find a couple of things on Kea Casa. So there's giant Atlantic cockles, there's Florida prickly cockles, there's some lettered olives, there's one banded tulip, one apple murex, two bubbles, a white Atlantic simile, lady and weighty Venus clam, Florida horse conch, purplish tigalus. We have some rough scallops, broad rib cardita, buttercup lucines, crossbarred Venus clams, calico scallops, jingles, kitten paws. Below that is surf clams. There's variable worm rock, calico clams, bay scallops, the spotted slipper snail, the colorful moon snail. I didn't even mention the chestnut turbans, the coffee melampus. There was also an auger and some dark cerus, and then the Florida fighting conchs and the moon snails. There were still a lot of shells there, even though it felt like kind of a slow day. Guess what? That's next week. Yeah, next week's going to be fun. Next week we're going to Fort Myers Beach. Sorry, I just love that beach so much. When I see those low tides and I just know the goodies are going to be there, I have to go. But I will be going to different beaches. Eventually, we're going to go on the East Coast. So we're doing lots of fun stuff in the future. Thank you for coming and watching. I'll see you again next Sunday.